All right, everybody. Surprise. Wasn't sure when I was going to announce this one because I wanted to make sure that for Hunter and myself, things finally lined up. Took a while, but we were both persistent and committed to getting this to work. Um, I'm really glad to have you on, Hunter. I think you're going to have a lot to say because you have several different perspectives when it comes to music, with engineering it, being in bands of your own, and just you have several different sides of that for your insight that I really want to dig into. And but anyways, man, I'm glad you're here finally, and we're doing this. I've got, I hope, some good questions for you to hit you with and see what you have to say about them.
Awesome,
Your
man.
day's
Yeah.
been good, I hope.
Oh yeah, man. It's been great. Just grinding away at work and doing the thing, man. Doing the nine to
Yeah,
five, trying to make ends meet. So and then I'm
I
here. So
yeah, I know the feeling. I work 40 hours a week, 10-hour shifts, so it's
oh man.
yeah, and at the warehouse I work in, it gets hot. So
Oh
it's
dude, yeah.
grueling. It's grueling in the summer. It's just sweat and dust and just all kinds of crap.
Oh
But
yeah, dude.
just
Warehouse life is great.
yeah, it's great, but it beats a lot of pay for a lot of other jobs around my area. So that's where I'm at. So,
That's awesome, man.
but yeah, it's a decent job. I can't complain. There's a few things I complain about, but other than that, I'm happy. So
Great,
um,
man. That's all you can ask for.
yeah, take what you get. Um,
Right?
but right out the gate, man, I need to ask you if you could think back this far. um, when did you start thinking about seriously pursuing music and making your own? What age were you where that kind of dawned on you?
So I was about third grade, and my mom put me in piano lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and I absolutely hated it and dreaded it the entire time. So I told her because my dad is a serious metalhead, so
Oh, really?
he listened to like Metallica and Pantera and Led Zeppelin and things like that. So I remember I was watching a video or something of Kurt from Metallica playing, and
Yeah.
it just sparked like this interest in wanting to pursue playing guitar. So I asked my mom like, "Hey, can you take me out of piano and just get me a guitar?" So she ended up getting me a guitar, put me in lessons, and I didn't like the lessons, so I ended up teaching myself. And it just kind of went from there. Rather than playing video games or watching TV, I spent my time playing guitar and just really trying to learn the instrument and learn the craft and figure out how these bands were writing these awesome songs that I love to listen to. So I wanted to
Hmm.
do that.
Yeah. I mean, I had a dream of doing that myself, but I've just never seriously pursued it. What were the main bands that kind of acted as how you kind of learned the guitar from? Like, what were the main ones, and how much of it was like self taught? Because you had some lessons, you weren't liking that. So, what provided you most of what you learned initially?
Um, so at first I was really listening to bands that my mom kind of listened to, which was like Def Leppard and
Hmm.
Guns N' Roses and the '80s hair metal stuff.
Yeah.
And then she met my dad, and he kind of was listening to the metal stuff, and that really sparked my interest. And like I said, I was listening to Metallica and Pantera a lot, and then I started kind of figuring out like the more modern type of metal. Like I think the first real kind of modern song or band I really listened to was Census Fail.
Okay.
Um, dude, yeah, like I remember hearing Census Fail, and it just like completely changed my view on metal and hard rock, whatever, in
Yeah.
general. And so I started kind of trying to find more bands like that, and I started going to concerts at shows. Like one of my favorite bands is August Burns Red. um,
Yes, man.
So
Yes.
I saw them play live and completely, changed my life, being in that live atmosphere and the energy behind people and how they swayed and moved a crowd, with their set and their
Yeah.
energy and attitude. So once I started kind of figuring out that style, it kind of really molded me as a guitarist, and I started learning more complicated and more technical riffing and play styles, and really just trying to figure out how to formulate and write a song. Like when you hear a song, what's going to draw you in about the song, like obviously parts and songs repeat. You want them to be catchy, like a catchy
Yeah.
chorus.
Gotta have those hooks.
What's going to pull the listener in. So I really try to science that down, I guess you could say is the best word, and learn how to do that. And I guess that's kind of where Soothsayer fell in. Like I started writing metalcore, um, and ambient stuff, um, still heavy, but stuff that pulled the listener in at times and
Right.
really got to get emotional with them at times. So
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of what I could say about that.
Well, I love your answer to that, man. It's honestly, to tell you the truth, it's one of the more kind of thought out answers I got to that question. I'm not dog on any of my other guests because I love every guest I've had on. They've had amazing responses to my questions, but I like the word choice you used and just the way when you're describing how the crowd would sway, and move to a song and stuff. Attention to the details like that are things that I think make a unique person in music because I feel like you have a little bit of a different way you look at the music and you listen to it and interpret it. And since you make music, how you make it too. So I mean, awesome answer to that question, man. It's really refreshing to hear that kind of thought behind it, and it's just really loved what you had to say there.
Thank you.
With the metalcore thing though, that's a funny one for me because you might laugh at this. There was a time in my life where I absolutely loathed harsh vocals. The
Oh yeah,
harshest I would listen to was like Chester from Linkin Park and his screams, or
dude, I love Linkin Park.
Jonathan, yeah, Jonathan Davis from Korn when he would do a scat scream kind of vocalized style. That's about as hard as I would get. Not that I didn't have bands that I'd heard that did the harder stuff because I didn't want to get into that because at the time I'd say stuff like, that's just nothing though. There's nothing that goes into that. You're just grunting into a microphone. Does it take talent to do? Which, by the way, it does. It's a lot of technique, a lot of
100%.
development, a lot that goes behind that because you could screw this up right here really fast.
Absolutely.
So I really respect metalcore singers, deathcore singers, all across the board that do the harsh vocals nowadays. But the metalcore thing, um, that's kind of a more complicated genre than people think. With the
Yeah,
music.
it really is.
Yeah,
Honestly, you kind of get a mashup of a lot of different genres in one.
yeah,
Because I mean, like in metal, there's a lot of different sub genres.
oh, yeah,
So metalcore is kind of just that one that's just like everything. It
yeah,
can be.
yeah.
Um, so anyway, sorry, that's
No
all I
worries,
have to say about it.
no worries.
Um,
You can keep going if you want. I'm just gonna take a drink.
oh no, metalcore just it's like I said, it compiles so many different techniques and styles. Like really, lots of things could be. And I mean, this could be subjective, but lots of things could be considered metalcore. Or get away with being metalcore nowadays. You
Yeah,
have metalcore bands tuning all the way down to drop F or lower. I mean, we tune in Soothsayer down to drop F. So
didn't work out.
yeah, no, it's great. I love it.
Yeah,
You just can hardly hear it.
yeah.
It's so low.
It's a different tuning, that's for sure. I've heard it. It would take quite a bit to make that really work and kind of be picked up to a point where it makes sense. I don't know if I'm not really good with making out tunings, but I can make out some of them. So maybe I've missed it in Soothsayer or anything or something like that in a song. I don't know, but
Yeah. We normally stick to drop A and drop F. Those are our
Oh, okay.
tunings in Sooth. So yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's all over the place, and that's why I love metal, man. Like it just you can just do whatever, and
It
you
is
know,
so it's very flexible and diverse, man. It truly is. Like purists like to say that it's got to stick to one kind of format, right? Like don't add in electronics, don't add in pop aspects, don't add in too much melody because then it just becomes a pop song in disguise or whatever. But man, I say have fun with it, man. Put in whatever you can think of, and if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't.
be
You
atmospheric.
know?
You know, have
Yeah,
that. You
man.
got to have the
I was gonna
atmosphere.
Yeah, Bottom Feeder, for example, you know, Soothsayer's most recent single. There's some clean sections incorporated into that song, you know, and purists, there's a lot of purists that hate when a band as heavy as, you know, Soothsayer or Whitechapel start doing cleans or clean sections in general. But it's like you got to think of it, frame it in a bigger picture. I like to say this to the you know people that think like that. That why only have something have one kind of way that it plays out, where it's just the harshness all the time, the brutality all the time. When a band wants to switch things up, there's probably a good reason for it. You know,
Yeah, no,
is
absolutely.
that true in your case?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's why you're seeing, bands that have, like metal bands that have rap
yeah,
incorporated into it now. There's even the country metal,
yeah.
you got Bill
Interesting
Murray
that
out
one.
here. If you listen to Bill Murray,
Yeah,
I
I
guess
do.
people's considered country metal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, but there's just so much diversity inside of it, and um, yeah, a lot of people, especially a lot of maybe the older generation have it a certain way, like, hey, it's supposed to be this format, or um, I guess I'm that way myself to a degree when I'm writing. I stick
Mhm.
to a format. Um,
I mean, the format thing is fine. My whole thing with that, what I was trying to say was that you could have your format, but what I mean is adding things into it from time to time. You know,
yeah, be experimental.
yeah, which Soothsayer is, and you know, I was gonna say at Astra, I actually think that's because it's just one song, right? Polarity, right now.
Yeah, so we have been really focusing on just. We had a couple changes happen recently
Uh huh.
in Ad Astra, so we're kind of just really getting our means together again.
Okay.
But we do have a new single coming out soon called Pandemonium. So
Okay. Cool.
that will be coming probably, hopefully, I'm hoping to have it released at least by the end of the year.
Okay.
So that will be another single from that. And then followed up by an EP. So
Nice. I'm looking forward to that. I actually really like that Ad Astra song
thank you,
Polarity
man.
that you have out. I don't know if you noticed in the screenshot when I sent you your Facebook page for wait, it wasn't Ad Astra's Facebook page, was it that I screenshotted? It
No,
was
it
one of your
was.
it was Ad Astra. Okay.
Yeah.
I had your music video for that song was I think at the bottom part of my phone picture. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, I like that music video. It's got a cool aesthetic to it.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, we shot
Yeah.
that in my drummer's mom's bar, actually.
Oh, really?
And then Chris Honesto, shout out to Chris. Um, he's out of Rec Media. Um, he shot the music video for us. So he's a really talented guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Great lighting, great atmosphere and aesthetic in that for sure.
man, yeah, he really kills it every time we do a video. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm glad you like Ad Astra, though. I really appreciate that. That one,
Yeah.
that was kind of my first attempt at doing vocals. Justin, my vocalist in Soothsayer, really kind of inspired me to like pursue doing vocals in general. So, um, I kind of just started doing it, and I guess I got okay at it. I'm nothing
Yeah.
special.
No, I think you have a natural knack for it for sure. I heard a lot of uh good technique and your breath control and stuff and all that. I think you got it there for sure.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm just out here doing what I can and trying to make good music if I can. Hopefully, people think it's good. So,
But at the same time, if you like it, that's more important in a way too. You know.
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And that to me, at the end of the day, is what matters too.
Yeah.
You gotta like what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, my
For
dad
sure.
always said you'll never work if you're doing what you love. So,
My next thing, we've been covering actually, I think all the bands that you're playing in for the most part. But my question that's framed around that, how would you say those three bands differ to each other? Like to what degree?
like, are we talking genre or?
Um, maybe if like songwriting approach is a little different, or maybe the song structuring, maybe how it's engineered or produced, small things like that. I know you could say that they're all fairly similar to each other, but I feel like in some ways Soothsayer might add in a little bit more. This is just my opinion, by the way, and take on music. Slight bit more of a prog or a tech element into the music for Soothsayer. And then when I was listening to Far From Nothing, that was kind of a little more of a straight edged metalcore sound. And add Astra, I feel like is metalcore, but there's a little bit of like a modern sort of how do I want to put it? I'm a little bad at describing music for genres, if I'm honest. So if it doesn't
No,
make
you're
sense,
fine.
just let me know.
No, you're
Um,
good.
just I guess that's how I'll frame it. But what would you say to those three bands, and maybe if you think they differ in any way?
So this might take me a minute. um,
No worries.
so yeah, they do actually differ in writing styles, but they are similar. So like with Sooth, I usually because two of our members live about an hour and a half away.
Okay.
So and then the rest of us three live here in Abilene. So a lot of writing I do at home on my computer. I program out the drums,
Right.
write everything in my DAW. Um, Ryan and Keanu, which are our members that live about an hour and a half away, which are our drummer and our other guitarist, they get together and write at home. So I mean, there's a lot of organic writing, and then there's also a lot of structured writing behind a computer. You're putting
Okay.
stems in order, things like that. For the most part, though, it's been writing behind a computer. And so, and then Far From Nothing, a lot of that. One member lives about 2.5 hours away, and then one other member lives in a different state and travels, and then the rest of us three live in Abilene. So
Okay.
that can be a little tricky with writing, but
Oh, for
most of
sure.
it,
Logistics.
most of it, the member that lives about 2.5 hours away, our other guitarist, he's an original member of the band.
Right.
Um, he'll write it home and then bring it to practice. We'll learn it, and then I'll go home and demo it. That way, it's structured to a click and metronome. Because we all typically play to a click track live, just to keep.
That's good.
We kind of have to, you
Yeah.
know, because we have backing tracks and things like that are behind our music. So it's really good that I'll go and learn the song and then I'll go home and structure it out just to have it ready for next practice, and then bam, we're playing to a click at practice. Um, so there's a lot of different kind of ways that songs form, but they get done. It's kind of funny. In Odd Astra, me and my best friend Michael actually started that band. It was just kind of like a pipe dream, just to kind of, hey, we're on our own. And then my studio partner that I found, or that I have, sorry. Um,
Right.
Basically, we met up with him, and he joined the band, and then brought in two other members. So it just automatically became a band really quickly. Um, and it kind of went from there. And a lot of that Michael and I had already written. So it was just like, okay, we're gonna track it. Let's just track it, and then we'll learn our set with the click. And then me and my studio partner Colin kind of built the set the way it's going to be played with all the backing tracks and
Right.
atmospheric stuff. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into the writing process. Honestly, it's a really big uh, responsibility, I guess, between all three of them. Trying to keep up with all of it and make sure that everything's formulated. Like I know, Far From Nothing, we have a show, and it's our first show after the. So like it's kind of weird. Far From Nothing has gone through like iterations of of
Right.
itself. Like there's been different members in the past, like the original members. I wasn't in it at the time.
Okay.
Um, and then there was a second iteration of it, which I was in, and it consisted of all new members minus the vocalist, which he basically just got all new members. And now it's the original drummer and bassist and guitarist, and then me, and then we have a new vocalist. So
Okay.
it's kind of one of those deals, where it's just gone through different years of I guess iterations of itself, and so everything's been different in the past. In the past I had, I would just write at home for that project, and then I would bring it to practice. Now it's kind of like everything's behind the computer. Very rarely do we write organically, but it does happen. So
I mean, that's a lot of info to take into my brain.
sorry, I tried to
No,
break
no.
it down all for you as best I could because it's
Yeah,
only 15 minutes.
I love in depth stuff, man. So I totally love that you went in depth with it.
I did the
Um,
best that I could.
yeah, no, I grasped it pretty well, like, with how the three bands, write, how you approach it. I totally get how balancing three different things, musically, could be a challenge. So you think of, okay, so when do I want to work on the next single or the next EP for, like, Far From Nothing, and when do I want to do it with Soothsayer, and when do I want to sit down and get at Astras, finally finalize, get all that stuff ready for distribution. It's a lot, man. There's so much into that, and
Yep.
um, I just want to comment that I like that you play the clicks and metronomes and stuff, because isn't it funny how you find people that think that it's like taboo to play to that stuff? It's like they don't realize that you should, and it's good that you do, because I feel like it's easy to go off time, if you
Absolutely.
don't have it. I don't know if that's true because I don't play, but I would assume that it's like that, and that's why it's used, so you keep yourself in time with everything else. You don't play too fast, too slow, and so forth. And then you mentioned backing tracks. I think they're just fine, but how do you feel about the people that say that it takes away from a live setting, that feel like it means that the band isn't playing all the instruments? Because you said it's just atmospherics that you like to make for backing tracks, which I get that. That's good. It adds to the overall tone of a live show. But people think that it means also that there's guitar parts that the guitarist won't play, or there's parts that the drummer isn't going to play, and they just hate that. They think that the band's being dishonest on the stage, and it's not that at all. Where do you fall
No.
with that opinion?
So, I mean, obviously, yeah, there's always going to be those people that say stuff,
Always.
for me, yes, you do actually have sometimes a guitar part or something playing. What if my other guitarist wasn't there that night, or my bassist wasn't there that night? What then? We still got to play the
Yeah,
show.
exactly.
I've got to have them there,
Yeah.
so they're on a computer at least. In that situation, that can happen, and that has happened. In fact, our last run that Sooth did, Tim wasn't able to go, my bassist. So we had to have him backtracked. But as far as, the people saying stuff, like, oh, he's not really playing, yeah, sometimes there is parts that, we're not playing, but maybe it's because I'm focused on playing another part that adds to the
Yeah,
entirety of it. Maybe this one little
yeah,
part that is backtracked adds so much to what is being played. It adds more.
yeah.
And then you do have your bends that play organically, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
No,
I did it for years. I did it playing without a click. Sooth, in fact, didn't even start off on a click. I actually made a switch over because we have so much to our music. Me and Ryan, my guitarist, can't do it all. We
yeah,
have to have sometimes a lead backtracked, or this atmospheric part that's tracked on our recording, but we can't play it live, so we have to have it backtracked, unfortunately. So I mean, yeah, it's just something that's unavoidable, and at this level of
yeah,
playing, when you're playing at this degree, and if you do have atmosphere, in your music, and other parts that are being played, you have to play to a click. So there's no
yeah.
getting around to it.
No. I just wish that people weren't so critical about all of it. It, they I don't know why it's almost like they feel like they're being betrayed in some way, or being lied to with, but they just don't understand the reason for a backing track and why it's used, or just all that kind of stuff. I've never had an issue with it. I could think back to some of my first concerts where I noticed it, but I didn't care because I thought it added a nice level of depth to the live
An
show.
element.
And yeah, versus if it wasn't there, maybe it'd feel a little more empty.
Absolutely.
So I totally get it.
Unfortunately, we're just entering an age now where, things are getting more techy and more technical. You have these weird sounds in the background. During breakdowns, guitarists are doing weird noises. Sometimes that is
Yeah,
backtracked. Bass drops are backtracked. Um, they can be. But yeah, unfortunately, we're just entering that era where backtracks are just so efficient. It's so easy to do. It's really not that hard to set up, and it just adds so much to your music. Um, and
yeah,
no bashing on anybody who does write organically, or I mean play organically without a click. If that's what works for you, that's what works for you. Keep doing it.
yeah.
You
Different
don't need
strokes for
it.
different folks.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need it. It's not a necessary thing if you want to play music, but it definitely will humble you, playing to a metronome, um, and it will add a lot to your music. So, and it'll make you,
Yeah,
just more tight in
yeah.
general.
And
So,
there's nothing wrong with being tight
nah,
live
man,
at
that's
all.
the kind of way you want to be.
Yeah, it is. You do. You want to be up there and come across like you know what you're doing. You know your instrument. And just playing tight. It makes a show just for the band, I would think, just go so much smoother. Things will happen, of course. Maybe a cab will blow up or catch fire, or maybe the power goes out, or someone's in-ear monitor will stop working or something like that.
It's happened to me. We just played with Crystal Lake, and
Yeah,
my in-ears cut out.
yeah. I was
You know,
gonna
the
I was gonna bring up that show actually, since you're touching on it. Why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Oh, yeah, man. So, of course, I love Crystal Lake. My band, Soothsayer, we all love Crystal Lake.
Yeah,
So, of course, we're, wanting to, make sure that we do good. And, I have, I'm a worry wart, I'm very OCD. So I'm checking my laptop and the backing tracks like 1,000 times before we
yeah,
go. Just making sure, and having this voice in my head that's like, oh, something's wrong. No, go check it. You're good. But no, we get up there and everything's great. and I turn on my in-ears and I just hear like a screeching noise the entire time. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was horrible, you know? And so I just threw him out and I kind of looked at Keanu and I was like, well, my drummer, Keanu, sorry. And I was like, well, I don't have any clicks. So, I got to do this. You got to keep me on time, and we have parts in our music where it like cuts out and it's just guitars like playing like, clean ambient leads to the
Yeah. Yeah.
metronome. So I was kind of freaking out a little bit, but Keanu, he had me, and obviously it was a great night, and I kind of
Bro
proved to
had your
myself
back.
like, hey, I know my music better than I thought I did.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was great, honestly. You're always gonna run into some kind of issue when you're playing, and you just gotta learn to adapt and keep
Yeah.
going, baby. Keep on
Definitely how you
going.
handle. Yeah. Definitely how you handle something like that in a live setting could really kind of set the tone for how the rest of the show will
Yep.
go. If you handle it like negatively or whatever, it's gonna put a damper on it, right?
Yep.
So roll with it.
Roll with it, man.
I'll be okay.
You got it. You got to just
Yeah.
go.
But
So.
glad that Crystal Lake show went really good, man. That's a cool band to support.
Oh man, they were awesome, dude. Really
Yeah.
great and nice guys, man. So it was an honor to play with
Glad to
them.
hear.
So,
Hopefully you'll get to play with them again.
dude,
Yeah.
yeah, I really hope so in the future. That'd be awesome. I would kill to. So it'd be great,
Yeah.
man.
I'm sure that was really good exposure for Soothsayer too, playing with those guys,
Yeah,
you know.
man. And especially in our hometown, like our
Yeah.
hometown showed up that night and just threw down, and there was a lot of new faces, and it was just great, honestly. And because it's really hard in Abilene to get, Abilene's pretty small, so we've had a great scene, and then it's had moments where it's kind of, died down a little bit and come back and died down. So, to see
Right.
that night, and, a couple years prior playing with Power Man, 5,000,
Yeah,
that show
dude.
was packed. It was awesome.
Every time I hear that name, Power Man 5000, it just brings back memories. Do you remember a movie called Evolution?
I think so.
Like those that they find like some kind of fungus or something that comes down in a meteor.
That sounds
And
like
I
my type of
remember,
movie.
yeah, that's where I got my introduction to Power Man 5000. They had a Worlds Collide play at a certain point of the song. I think it was maybe a little bit towards the end where things were getting really wild and thinking like there's explosions and aliens were going into buildings and blah blah blah. But man,
Man,
Power
I'll have
Man
to check that
5000
out.
Crystal Lake, that's awesome. Huh?
I said I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's like I think 1999 or 2001 when it came out, so a
Oh
little
wow.
older, but I love it. It's got Sean William Scott from American Pie in it.
Oh, okay.
Stifler,
Nice.
yeah, he's
Nice. I'll have to
in
check
it.
that out, dude.
Yeah,
I think
I
I
think you'll like
remember
it.
that movie. Oh, no.
My next question I have for you, and I'm gonna try not to hold you up too long, but
Oh, you're good, man.
so gear for your setup when you're recording with your bands, if you're engineering something, what does that typically look like? Yeah, and just so you know, I'm a what would you call it? I'm a dummy when it comes to programs and stuff. I don't know what a lot of it means. I know what some of it means, but please be it as in depth as you can, and I'll listen and then I'll respond.
I'll do my best.
All right.
So yeah, a little history. It's taken me a while to get to where I am with my gear knowledge, and I don't even claim to know it all. So bear with me.
All right.
But for live, me and my guitarist in Soothsayer, we run Line 6 products. We both have a Line 6 Helix. Um, and as far as cabs, we have been DIing right now, which just means direct in. You're running to the front of house through the
Okay.
PA. You don't really have a cab. But we've come to find out at a lot of the shows we've played that sometimes it would really be nice to have a cab. So here pretty quickly, we're probably going to be purchasing the Laney FR cabs that just came out a
Right.
while
Right.
back. They're really nice. The 4x12 ones, really expensive, but
Hmm.
super nice, dude.
I bet.
Um, you can EQ those things in your tone. So cool. I want, so we've both been looking into that. And then we've been also looking into getting a quad cortex by Neural DSP.
Okay.
So Neural DSP is kind of like, in my opinion, the king of tones. And we both really like the quad cortex. Our bassist actually had one for a while, so I've jammed on one. A couple of the other friends that I know have them. So really, really great product. It's super user friendly. So much you can do with it. Plus, you're getting the Neural DSP tones, and nothing beats that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, as far as my other bands, I use my Helix predominantly live in anything that I do. In Far From Nothing, I'm I'm using my Black Star cab, and then I've got to get a power amp. I don't have one yet, but one is coming pretty quickly. Um, and my guitarist is using his cab setup. And then I think he's running through a Pod Go, I believe. Which the pods, it's just another Line 6 product. Really great
Right.
amp modeler. Um, but anyways, yeah, so that's really kind of what it looks like live. Basically, kind of going back to the cab route. I think it would just be better in general, especially if you play at places that don't necessarily have the best PA, or the best sound guy.
Right.
It just is kind of that reassurance that you're gonna have sound behind you no matter what. Which we
Yeah.
use our in ears. We're always gonna hear what we're playing.
Yeah.
It sounds great to us, but I don't. We don't know how it sounds out there. Um, but we just kind of want to go back to that old style of cabs and the feeling of having a cab and behind you. And as far as the recording goes, I can turn my monitor around and show you. I don't know if I can do that on here. Can you?
You mean flip the screen, or
Yeah, can you do that?
I haven't messed around with that, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, it's okay. No worries. As
All
far
right.
as the recording situation goes, I record everything on Reaper. Me and my partner Colin. Um, we run a studio here in Abilene called Fire Ant Recording Studio.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, we use Reaper, and then we basically do a lot of our mixing and everything on our Behringer X Touch control board. Basically, it's just like a mixer board with faders and buttons that do different things within our DAW that make it easier for us to navigate around
Right.
stuff. And then as far as like we use a lot of plugins, a lot of higher end plugins. Like we use a lot of Plugin Alliance plugins. I use a lot of Joey Sturgis JST plugins. Colin uses a lot of those. You know, we try to use plugins, and then we also have the hardware option where you can we can do things analog. Like we have compressors, EQs, you know, limiters. Um,
Right.
you name it. We have that stuff that we can run. People, organically and dialed in analog route. So, Yeah, that's kind of as far as the gear situation. I could go a lot more in depth, but a lot of it probably would just be me gibbering for 30 minutes. So
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. I think the sound that you have with Soothsayer and stuff, sounds great. Like the new single is really crisp. It sounds really nice. It's, I want to use the word open. I don't know if that makes sense to you when I say that, but everything just sounds so good. On
thank you
that
so
new
much, man.
single from Soothsayer. Yeah, man, it's really great. I think you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, but did I ever say that I was gonna write you a review for that song or not?
I don't believe we ever talked about that.
Yeah,
I
I don't think
from
so
my
either.
memory. Um, but no,
Yeah,
man, that'd be awesome. I would appreciate that.
yeah.
That'd be great. I ended up doing the production with my partner Colin on that one. Normally, Soothsayer goes to. We have a studio guy, engineer, that
Hmm.
we've been working with for years. So we just went back to him, and which takes a lot off my shoulders and plate. So I get to just
Right.
focus
I
on the
bet.
writing aspects again, and that's great. He was going through a lot during for a while there, so we weren't. We didn't really have many options that were affordable in our price range that we could go to for engineers.
Right.
So we just decided, okay, I'll give it a shot and let's do it. And I did bottom feeder, so I'm really glad. I've got nothing but positive review feedback from it, and that feels really good to you know
Yeah, well
get
deserved.
that. So thanks, man. And
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for what's coming from all three of those bands. I think there's really great stuff. I went and listened through most of what's out for all of them. Of course, Ad Astra is the one right now, and then I listened to a lot of the Far From Nothing. I listened to a lot of the Soothsayer. I think my favorite song is between. It's the newer stuff from Soothsayer, but it's between Dead Sleep and Bottom Feeder, mainly because Patient 67 kicks
yeah,
ass. So yeah, that's a really good combination there for you
I'm
guys.
glad you like Dead
And
Sleep too, man. We
yeah,
had Tom Kiley on that one from Patient 67, so that was really cool.
yeah,
Shout out to those boys. They're from Australia. Really good guys.
yeah, yeah, great stuff there. But overall, man, gonna start wrapping up here. The final question I have for you: overall, when you're making your music and engineering it, what has it done for you? Like, provide to you as far as like an outlet, for venting or whatever, for your life, in positive kinds of ways.
So definitely, it definitely has changed my life in a positive way. You know, it has kind of opened up my creativity and
Right.
development as a musician to learn production and engineer my own things. It feels really good that I can go to my 9 to 5 and then come home and you know mix and still get experience and do what I need to do, and it makes the day that much better that I get to come home and do that, rather than just thinking about having to go work again the next day. Um, but yeah, man, it definitely has changed my life in a positive way, and I think that I will always do it as long as I can, as long as my ears will let me. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, I really can't think of anything else other than if you're out there and you do it, keep doing it, and it hopefully will change your life too. So
Yeah, hopefully. And I just want to add to that as far as wanting to get into music, you didn't say this, but I'll say it. Get into music to be, you know, successful, or um, look for that extravagant side of it. Nothing's wrong with success. Not what I'm saying, first of all. But if that's the reason you get into the music, you might find a lot more disappointment in it than just getting into music because it provides you something in a healthy way because you love how it makes you feel, because you just love making it in general. Those are the reasons for making music right there. If it gives you something back, that's the biggest thing right there. And success in my eyes is just having anybody listening to you at all. That's success to
Absolutely.
me. You put out a
100%.
song and you're getting people listening, you've done it. You're out there.
Yeah, man. I'll
So
add to that. I know we've got to wrap up. 100.
no worries.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely, if you're doing this to just gain attention and be successful, you're doing it wrong because you will fail 100 times before you ever become successful.
Oh yeah.
I've learned by experience, and I do agree with you. If anybody follows or listens to your music, you're successful in my book. So, um,
Yeah.
I would rather, change one person if I can than nobody at all. Um, so if
Absolutely.
if you do it, do it to enjoy it. That's what it's about. You got to love what you
Absolutely.
do. So thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Man, I really appreciate you having me on your podcast, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun, dude. You're definitely a cool dude. I feel like if I was there or you were here where I'm at, we'd definitely be pals, man, and hanging out and
Dude,
just chatting.
100%.
Definitely,
And you can
yeah,
still always reach out
100%.
to me, bro. So,
Yeah, I have a feeling you're probably a gamer too. It's in some ways. So
dude, you game?
yeah,
What do you play?
yeah. I right now I'm just doing a lot of there's a game that just came out called Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I love RPGs and that's what it is. But
Oh,
I play
nice.
that. I used to play Destiny 2 a whole hell of a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I play some online games here and there, like Call of Duty. I get bored of Call of Duty really easily, though, so
You're
I
just
can't
like
play
me.
it real long. Yeah,
I
but
know it's
I
always the
play
same every
Forza.
year.
Yeah, I like playing Forza Horizon. Racing games. Stuff like that. Uh, Survival games are fun to me. Just things like that, but mostly RPGs and things like that.
Dude,
And I
yeah,
play on
absolutely.
my laptop. Huh?
That's awesome. I said absolutely, man. That's awesome. I'll have to give you my Discord, and
Yeah,
maybe we can hop in Discord and game sometime.
yeah. That'd be pretty easy to do. I'm 3 days where I'm free.
Yeah, man,
So,
absolutely. So,
but any closing thoughts for your bands or any announcements you want to make in general?
um, Wednesday night this week, I'm playing with Fervence at the Zone in Abilene,
Oh
Texas.
yes,
Fervence just
they
got
just got
signed.
signed too. Yeah,
So shout out to Fervence and Metal Blade Records.
yeah,
So we'll see
yeah.
you there Wednesday night. And if you're out there doing music and whatever you're doing, like I said, just keep.
Uh oh. Uh oh. I'm still here, Hunter. We'll see if it comes back in. He's went black screen. I don't know why. I don't know if it's on my end. Oh boy. We'll see if he comes back in, everyone. I think he's just having some kind of like technical thing on his side.
I'm sorry, somebody called me.
That was funny.
Yep. Anyways, man, sorry about that.
Sorry.
I was just saying, if you're out there doing it, keep doing it. So
Yeah, it works out in sometime eventually. Just keep going. Get someone listening to your music. That's something. It's not nothing. But yeah, man,
absolutely.
let's keep in touch and please let me know when new music's on the horizon and send it my way, and I'll chug out a review for it so you guys could tack that on to release day. And more than happy to do it, man. So
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We'll definitely keep in touch, and I'll definitely reach out to you. So,
Yeah. Well, man, Hunter, it's been a hell of a time, man. You're a really great guy, great mind for music, funny, love talking with you. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to get my kiddo his dinner and
absolutely.
enjoy the rest of mine. And yeah, man, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Will. We'll see you.